Love is like candy on a shelf.
Welcome, friends, to another Town Hall meeting with Mr. Review. I'm here to make the complex simple and the confusing clear. Today's question is turnout. Of course, when we talk turnout, we're talking about who votes. Today we'll be looking at the do not voters versus the cannot voters. First of all, who turns out? We know turnout in America is not as high as we'd like. The highest turnout comes in presidential elections, usually in the mid to upper 50% of the voting age population. Midterm elections, those congressional elections that occur the 2 years after presidential elections, voting age population turnout is more like 40%. Nothing to boast about. The greatest democracy in the world, the city upon a hill, we don't vote as much as we should. But don't blame the voters. Sometimes we're cannot voters. The laws prohibit us from voting. Remember, because of federalism, states retain the authority to encourage and or restrict voting. I'll give you some examples. All 50 states, of course, do not allow non-citizens to vote. Some states are much more prohibitive when it comes to convicted felons. Some states, like Florida, for instance, once you've committed a felony, you'll never vote in Florida again, even if you want to. You're a cannot voter. Of course, our elections are on a work day. This makes it hard for those that can't sneak away from work to cast that vote. Of course, some states have early voting. That helps, doesn't it? Or voting by mail, absentee ballots. Then there are those states that use voter photo ID requirements. Some say this suppresses the vote. Let's not forget the motor voter bill was passed way back in the 1990s to encourage more registration for voting. The motor voter bill requires that when you go sign up to get your driver's license, they must ask you, do you want to vote? We can register you to vote right here. How successful these ideas have been over the years, political science is still debating. But I will tell you this, in our democracy, the democracy canon would suggest that we should put the thumb on the scale in favor of encouraging people to vote. A healthy democracy encourages and experiences higher turnout. But who are the do-not voters? Political science, again, is somewhat in peril here as we debate who exactly these people are. But there seems to be some consistency that there is a triad correlation between education, age, and residential stability. The higher the number in each, the more likelihood that you'll be voting. The more educated, the older, the more stable in where you live. Other political scientists would also want to add one other factor. Are you married? What is your family structure? 2 married people tend to vote more than those that have never been married. Children make it a little bit more complicated. Trust and civic duty is all a part of a healthy democracy. Trust and civic duty lend us and push us to be more likely to vote. Turnout is something that we want. Whether or not it should be required is a debate we'll let you have in your classroom. Another factor when we look at turnout rates is the difference between the VAP and the VEP. When we look at turnout rates, it tends to be based on the VAP, the voting age population. We take the total number of votes cast, and compare that to the total number over the age of 18. This isn't exactly precise. Perhaps we should use more appropriately the VEP, the voting eligible population. This takes out of that denominator the felons, the non-citizens, and so forth, those that cannot vote. Either way, when looking at either the VAP or the VEP number, our turnout is not as high as it should be. Mr. Review encourages each and every one of you to challenge your neighbor and ask them that simple question: have you voted yet? Thanks for the question. Turnout is extremely important to our efficacy. Thanks for another town hall meeting with Mr. Review. We're here to make the complex simple and the confusing clear. Until next time, what's the question that you have? Go ahead, ask Mr. Review.
Love is like candy on a shelf. You want to taste and help yourself.